My name is Tolulope Wadia, and I've had about 23 years working experience. Very interesting across broadcasting, aviation, and banking. I did a bit of consultancy when I was a copper, just a bit, a tiny bit, but enough also, to make an impression on me and my career. For now, I lead the learning function at First Bank. And this morning, as we were doing our familiarization conversation, Demola mentioned something, and he said something about L&D people being thrown into the role, like you don't really plan for it. Somehow you find yourself in that role. And I smiled because that was exactly what happened to me. I had other plans before this was, thrown at me. And my boss said, look, go and do this. And after this, I'm sure that you can do this, you can do that, and all of that. And well, I didn't have a choice at the time. So I embraced it. In my organization, you're not given time to settle down. And if you know, First Bank is a large bank. Not only do we manage trainings for the bank, we also support the subsidiaries in terms of training as well. So it's a huge role actually, and you don't have time to mess around. So you have to throw yourself right into whatever has been thrown at you so that you can succeed. And so I was moved into the role when I wanted something completely different. And anyway, we all know the 70-20-10 rule, where 70% is what you do on the job, you learn on the job. And that has been my experience so far. I've had to throw myself into the job and learn as much as possible. No time at all, for dilly-dallying. And it's been really interesting because if you know the responsibility that has been entrusted to you, you will know that the future of the organization is actually in your hands as the head of L&D or as an L&D member, no matter how small you think you are, because you're responsible for ensuring that your workforce is skilled for the present and for the future. And if you think of it that way, then you know that you are an integral part of the strategy of the organization. And so on an annual basis, you can't rest your oars and say, oh, we did some work last year, let's continue, or let's go back to what we did last year and then, bring it up again. It doesn't work like that. Between last year and now, a lot of things have shifted. The organization strategy may have shifted. They're looking at new horizons and all of that. And your role is to ensure that the staff that are on ground are able to meet the challenges of the strategy that the organization has crafted so that you can meet the goals of the organization and make profit, and your salary can also get paid. So, for instance, in my organization, the salespeople will come back to come and tell you, oh, we're working for you. And I tell them, we're working for ourselves because you're working for your pay. I'm also working for my pay. We're working for the common goal of the organization. If HR didn't hire you, you would not be here. And so sometimes, as HR practitioners, L&D practitioners, your horn may not be tooted for you, but you must ensure that you toot your horn so that you can gain the required respect and you can also get support from management. That is very, very critical. So, like I said, it's been it's been fun. It's been challenging. I've gone through my highs and lows, seasons where there was no budget to run, and we had to just start speaking English all over, organizing webinars within the organization, bringing people together to facilitate conversations, doing knowledge sharing sessions all over the place. It's just been interesting because we had to survive and we had to prove to management that we were doing something and that our function was very, very legible as well. So I want to welcome everyone this morning to this session. Like I said, we're going to be learning from each other. I hope I can learn from you as well. And I hope that you can learn from me as well. A lot of the things I'm going to say here are probably not new things, but there are things I would like you to ponder on and see how we can get it, how we can make it better, on our practice at our various organizations. So, I have been asked to speak on building a high-impact L&D strategy for 2026. And this is the time to start having that conversation. In fact, it might be a bit late if you haven't even started, because you should have crafted what you want to do for the year, even before now, before January. At least have an idea of what you want to deliver for your organization. So, but let's just dive into it. Okay, so our agenda. We're going to be defining high impact L&D in 2026. We're going to be talking about strategic priorities for the L&D teams. We're going to be talking about one very important aspect of learning and development, which is aligning with business needs. Because if you're not aligning with business needs, then you don't have any business being where you are. Really, you don't just sit at the training school and start reeling out trainings just because. No, it has to align with something. It must be, dovetailing into something that is useful within the organization. So this is very, very important, and we'll take some time, to talk about it. And building future-ready L&D capabilities ourselves as L&D operators. How are you developing yourself? What do you know? Are you the right person for that role? Because if you don't know, then you can't transfer, to the members of your organization. Measuring and demonstrating impact, and that is also a huge one. That elephant in the room called ROI, return on investment, you know, what exactly is it? How can we achieve it? Because that's one thing that will define your credibility in your organization. Otherwise, everybody will just see learning and development as a cost center. They're always spending money. They just spend money there. What are they doing? Training for what? And this common statement by business leaders are, oh, they just bring my people to class, for things that don't concern them, trainings that don't concern them, because they really don't understand. And you have to make them understand so that you can get the required support. So how do you demonstrate impact on the organization? Pitfalls also to avoid in execution. So we'll be talking a lot about that. So essential traits of leading L&D functions. So like I said earlier, if you don't know, or if you did not know now that you are one of the critical stakeholders of any organization, because it is what you do that will prepare your staff for now and for the future to be able to meet the goals of the organization. And to get to the bottom line, why are we all in our organizations? We're not there, we're not charity organizations, and you yourself, you're not just going to work to go and provide service and then go back home. You want to earn your pay as well, so why do we do what we do? So leading learning and development functions are no longer just providers of training. You should know that we are strategic partners focused on capability building, culture, and business impact. And the essential traits of high-performance L&D functions involve aligning with business strategies, very critical, I mentioned that, embracing technology, and fostering a continuous learning culture. And we'll talk more about that as we move on. So what do we mean by strategic business alignment? So we map directly to enterprise goals. So for instance, in my organization, what we do is we pick the organization's strategies, what direction are we going for the next year? And then we'll come up with something called the TNA, which is the training needs analysis, which is sent out to everybody, every business leader in the organization, saying, this is the strategy of the bank. This is where we are going. And because we are not subject matter experts, we don't sit within your teams. Can you tell us the areas of gaps, or not necessarily gaps, the skills that you require to be able to deliver on your mandate for the year? And then we'll put all of this together and come up with our training plan that we will now take to management to say, these are the areas of need within the organization. These are the areas that our business leaders have said that they require training. These are the areas that the individuals themselves have said that they require training, because as an individual that there's some skills that you don't have. And you are allowed to go and speak to your supervisor to say, I don't have the skill and I need the skill to deliver on my job and I need training. And it's your supervisor's responsibility to also escalate this to say, look, this person is one of my good guys. However, there's a bit of a gap, and we need to build this gap to enhance the person's performance and productivity and whatever it is. And so there must be strategic business alignment with your business. Otherwise, everything you're doing is null and void. You must be agile. You must have that first, the mindset of skills first delivery, and you must be future focused as well. You must rapidly adapt to shifting skills needs, looking into the future to identify future skills needs, talent marketplaces, and on-the-job learning as well. So what are you doing, in that area? How have you been able to identify the skills that are required? So I'll talk a lot about my organization, what we do and all of that. In the last year, we realized that a lot of things had shifted, and we had a competency framework in place that we had done some years back. And look, things change within seconds. So you can't even rely on something that you did years ago to deliver for you today. And so we had to review our competency framework to say, look, what are the skills of the future? And when you're talking about a future, remember, the future is here. That future that we keep talking about to say, the future. Before you know it, you sleep and wake up and the future is already at your doorstep. So what are those skills that are required by all the functions of an organization to perform? Agile and flexible, quick to change approach for better results. You're doing something and you're getting feedback on the go. Oh, this is not how you should adopt, or the adoption that you should use for this. Can you shift? Are you able to immediately shift your thinking to meet the requirements of what you are doing at that point in time? And then we'll talk about modernized learning delivery. Learning has shifted a lot from the traditional method of delivery. I'm sure that's still news. But let me just even talk about it. So in the past, before and COVID came, COVID did a lot of havoc, but also COVID came in with a lot of new ways of doing things. If you had been told in the past that, learning would take place virtually, everybody would say, no, no, I don't like it. How would I just sit down and be listening to someone? I want to be in class. I want to go for tea break. I want to go for lunch, which are the high, what would I call it now? Some of the things that people look forward to when they are going for training. You're just thinking of the food, something different from what I eat at my desk every day. I'm leaving my desk. And then to think that you would now just sit down somewhere for 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours and undergo a training. It was very preposterous, but we did it during COVID and we survived. Even though man was not designed for virtual meetings. Like I'd always say, you want to see who you're talking to, you want to hug your friends, you want to give a handshake, you want to look at the face of the person that is talking to you, or the person that you're talking to, you want to read their faces to know whether you're making impact already, or from the first second, they're already disillusioned and they're already saying, what's she talking about? We know about this. You want to see all of that. And so we didn't think that virtual meetings could hold. And now the whole world has so adapted that we're now in meetings every time of the day. Anybody can call any meeting at any time because there's no spatial distance anymore now. Wherever you are, either in Mauritius, and I say that with a smile, either in Nigeria, UK, Hong Kong, wherever, we can all meet at the same time and talk and discuss business and whatever. And so this has also affected the way we deliver on our learning imperatives as well. Digital transformation, a lot has happened. We're talking about AI, a lot of AI and more AI, as well. So what are you doing in terms of digital transformation in your organizations to ensure that you get support in your learning delivery? How do you mix all the ways of learning to ensure that you're achieving your goals, for the organization? Learning journeys over events. So it's no longer an event. And I heard Demola say this morning that they're going to be having continuous webinars. So it has become a journey. It's not just today, an event today, and then we stop and everybody goes to rest. So I don't know how often these webinars are going to hold, but you know, it's a journey, a journey, a means towards an end. You just keep. And that's how learning is supposed to be in our organizations. It's not just today, oh, you do a sales boot camp for your sales team and we all end it there. Everybody goes back home and you say, oh, we've done training for the sales. And how do you want to continue to reiterate what they have learned in class? Do you do knowledge sharing sessions? Do you do webinars, even within the organization, within the same sales functions? Are you bringing people together to come and have meaningful conversations that would impact their learning journey in the organization and will make them perform better on their jobs? What are you doing over learning journeys, over events? Not just an event, but a journey. Adoption of the 70-20-10 framework. And that is the story of almost everyone's lives. Not everyone gets the opportunity to get trained formally. That's the truth. And I hope that as learning practitioners, we have the habit of training ourselves, learning. There's so many materials, so many things that AI has made easy for you. Google has made life easy. Like you say, Google is your friend. Just type any topic, go and look at it, and you get your answer. So, I mean, that's learning on your own, learning on the job. So the 70-20-10 framework, how do we utilize it? How do we ensure that people get the right learning on the job? In my organization, we have a lot that we do within the career space as well. So we have mentorship, we have handholding, where you get the best of the best in each function to handhold some other people who are probably just coming into the function. Maybe you've been transferred from one function into another function. There's somebody who is ready at hand to hold your hands for probably the first 6 months, or who knows, maybe more, but within 6 months, we expect that you'll have learned a lot in any case, and you also will be in a position to also train other people. So how do we institute such practices within our functions to ensure that on a daily, learning is taking place on the job, on the go, with all the other platforms that we have instituted, in our organization? And I think I've looped in the fostering a learning-driven culture also into what I've said so far. Growth mindset, collaboration with the business, and all of that. How often do you meet with the business to understand their pain points and the areas of gaps and what they need, so that you can collaborate with them to form something that can benefit them as well, to be able to learn, in the course of the job. And from research, we hear that high-performing L&D teams achieve 20 to 40% higher engagement in learning programs versus the average L&D team. So where do you want to fall? High-performing L&D or the average? That's your choice. And, the help for that is right at your fingertips. So let's just note that. So I'll talk a bit more about alignment with the organizational goals and business transformation. So we'll talk about digital transformation. L&D initiatives should focus on upskilling employees in digital tools, automation, data literacy to drive technology adoption across the organization. And who is your biggest stakeholder here? Your IT team. Your IT team, because a lot is happening within the digital space. Different functions are improving themselves digitally. And I'm sure that for almost all organizations in Nigeria today, digital transformation is big on the strategy. So what are we doing to support digital transformation? How are we partnering or collaborating rightly with the team that can support us in terms of digital transformation and ensuring that everybody is carried along on this digitization journey? Innovation or customer centricity, let me talk about that. Training emphasizes empathy, customer journey mapping, and agile response to feedback, ensuring that the workforce delivers exceptional customer experiences. How is your CX? What's your CX report like? How are your teams treating your customers? Remember that I said earlier on that we're running a business. It's not a charity organization. Even NGOs get paid, and NGOs ensure that their customers are rightly treated. So how are we training along that area, along customer centricity? How are we partnering with our CX team to ensure that our staff are trained and they are able to meet this, the needs of the customers. How are you reviewing your CX report to say, look, we haven't done so well around here. We've done well around here. What can we do, to ensure that, that we're partnering rightly, and developing our staff in the areas of customer centricity. We'll talk about innovation and learning programs, foster a culture of creativity and experimentation, equipping our staff with problem solving and design thinking skills. That's another area. Innovation is also huge in the strategy of quite a number of organizations. How do you partner with the right people to ensure that your staff are innovative? Do you have an innovation curriculum? How are you ensuring that the right people, the people on projects, have that mindset? And every delegate within the organization, starting right from the top, you should be innovative in an organization. How are we partnering to ensure that everybody has an innovative mindset? And some people are not just sitting there and saying, oh, but that's what we did last year. That should not be a lingua franca anymore. How we did it last year, not even how we did it yesterday. It's about how are we going to do it going forward? How are we going to achieve results going forward? How are we going to be innovative, around this critical delivery going forward so that the organization can benefit from it? Remember, performance goals, remember bottom line, profitability of the organization, and you have a large stake as an L&D practitioner. Now, building agility, business agility, pardon me, and L&D strategies should support rapid adaptation to market changes, through continuous learning, cross-functional collaboration, and leadership development. How do you make your business agile in alignment with organizational goals and business transformation? How do you develop your leadership teams, so that they can give you the right result? Because you see, a lot of things also rest with leadership in an organization. If you have the wrong leaders, then you're not going anywhere because they can't move. They can't move an army. They can't do anything. They will just mess up your business for you. And sometimes it's just not because people are not good. Yeah, some people are badly behaved, but some people don't even know how to be, leaders. So it's part of our responsibility as L&D to ensure that our leaders are trained to behave well and to be able to have the skills to lead teams and deliver on their mandates. Business agility. How are we developing leaders? How are our strategies supporting rapid adaptation to market changes, through continuous learning? The market is changing every day. I'm sure you know that. A lot of things are changing every day. So how are we ready to be able to support all of these changes? That is the duty of the learning and development functions. So don't ever think that you're small or you're just there. No, you're not just there. Your work is huge. And the earlier you know this, the better. Think of it that way, like I am the one running the organization. I'm the one providing the support. It's the support that I provide for the organization that will make the organization perform. If you start thinking of it that way, start reorientating your mind to know that you're a key stakeholder with management on this journey, then your thinking starts to change. You start thinking innovatively on how to run your shop, which is learning and development. So I just move on now. And so I was asked to also speak about our strategic priorities for Q1 as L&D. So what should our priorities be? And like I said, I hope it's not too late, but if you haven't done things around here, you can still do a catch-up because, well, let's just say that January, February, those are times that you're putting all your structure together so that you can go and get your budget if you haven't gotten your budget yet and all of that. So what are you supposed to be doing right now to ensure that for the rest of the year, you cover what you should be covering? So I suggest that we conduct a skills gap analysis. Where are the gaps in the skills of our business partners, which are the people that we work with? By the way, you are one team that is business partner to everybody in the organization, from management down to the least in ranking. So what are the skills in our sales team? What are the skills gap in our sales team? I talked about a competency framework earlier. That's something that can help you, to identify skills, because it's a document that shows the kind of skills that every team should have in an organization. So you have a list of the gifts of the skills. You've communicated it to, the business leaders, and you're asking, where are your gaps? What are the critical skills that you need within your team that you want us to help you to bridge? And they provide this, and you start planning with that. You prioritize your high impact development programs. So and you know where you play. For financial organizations, your high impact programs may be different from manufacturing. So it's not a one size fits all model. What are your high impact development programs? Sometimes it's born out of an audit report. For organizations like banks, maybe a CBN audit occurred, last year, and they said, oh, all the staff in this department need to be trained on this because we observed a gap, or some errors occurred because they were not, trained. You could not demonstrate that they were properly trained in this area, or you trained them and somehow, they just didn't do so well. So what are the skills gap analysis that you have in your organization? You are starting from there at the moment. You're prioritizing your high impact development programs, and you sequence your initiatives for measurable value in the first 90 days. What are we going to do in Q1 to hit the ground running, so that we can even demonstrate to our partners that we have them in mind and we're going to partner with them for the benefit of the organization. Enhance your digital learning infrastructure. What do you have in place for digital learning? By now, most organizations should have something for learning on the go, where your staff can just open their telephones and go to your learning app and start learning. By now, most organizations, if you don't have it, you should be thinking of that, because learning is continuous. Remember, we have said learning is a journey. It's not just an event that happens one-off. So it's a continuous journey. So you must provide platforms for everybody to be able to learn at every point in time. For your staff who have traveled out of the country and there's a learning that has to take place, they must be able to access that learning at the right time. So how are you enhancing your digital learning infrastructure? This is the time to start having such conversations and getting your budget ready if you don't have that already. Establish robust measurement frameworks. Define your KPIs, define your leading indicators, and cadence for Q1 review. What is your KPI for success? What are your success measures, by Q1, at the end of Q1? How do you hit the ground running? How do you know that you have done well around that? And acting decisively in Q1, remember, correlates with a 15 to 20% faster goal attainment. Because once you start, you have started. Is when you start late that you now start playing catch up. But once you started, you now have a pace, that helps you to ensure that everybody is engaged throughout the year. And in my organization, we used to have a situation where people complained that it was towards the end of the year that we're now running all over the place, to train people. And that was a stigma for quite a number of years because, at some point we had budget issues where, the budget may come a bit later and then we now start, playing catch up. And then it now happened that we didn't start early enough. Maybe we started with our learning management system, all those virtual compliance programs, all those programs that we could do on our LMS, and all of that. And then the real, programs will now come later on in the year. Let that not be your story. It's not a very tidy story. So I hope that we can all move ahead, in the course of this year in that area. So these are some of the critical focus areas for immediate action that I would advocate. If you have any other areas, you can drop it in the chat box. Like I said, we're all learning from each other, and it will be a good time to learn from ourselves. So Balancing the short term and long term. Deliver short term wins. That will help you a lot. Quick skill boost and visible improvements will help you to build credibility and momentum, and it will help you to earn stakeholder support early. We've started with some trainings now already, in January. And I think by the second week in January, we had started some of our trainings because there were some areas that were identified within some functions that there were gaps. And we had done that plan since last year, and we're bringing everybody, to school to come and learn in some areas. And the feedback has been great. So when you ask, has it been a good use of your time? They say, thank you. Thank you for bringing us to class. For some people, even the seniors, some of the seniors who came to class said, oh, well, we know we're not supposed to be here, but we came and it served as a refresher for us. So it's a good time, to have this training. So short-term wins. That business would never forget that starting from the beginning of the year, we helped them to put them on a pedestal, to deliver in the course of the year. Invest in long-term vision. Leadership development, future-ready capabilities, sustain growth, and guide strategic investments. So there are some short-term and quick wins. There are also long-term things that the bank wants to achieve. So you've looked into the strategy of your organization and you know that the organization wants to do this. So I'll give an example. In our organization, we started working a lot with the Asian business, and it was a bit expensive getting Asian resources. And what did we do? We started Mandarin classes for our own staff. So homegrown staff who can engage in that area. It's not an event. It's not a one-off. So it's a long-term investment because we're not even there yet, So from one module graduating to the next module, but we have our long-term focus in mind. This is what we want to achieve, and this is how we're pacing it. And, we're gaining momentum in that area. So what are you doing to support your organization's strategy on the short term and in the long term? Remember, I said you're a critical stakeholder. Keep that here. You are a critical stakeholder. You're as important as anybody in the organization because it's the support that you provide that will make the organization move. Adopt a hybrid approach. So combining quick wins with the long horizon initiatives improves your stakeholder buy-in by 30%. So you're engaging, we want to support you in this area. What do you want us to do for you? Okay, let's pace it. Our operations team needs this, they need this kind of training. Let's pace it over a month, over 6 months. It's in a continuum. So after they've gone to class, what else are we going to be doing? Knowledge sharing sessions, webinars in the course of the year, and all of that. It's a journey. It's not an event, Balancing immediate impact initiatives like quick skill boosts with nurturing long-term capabilities such as leadership development helps you to ensure sustained organizational growth. Short-term wins build credibility and stakeholder support, while the long-term vision guides strategic investment in future readiness. So they've said, something is a future skill that is going to be required within the organization. And you don't want that future to come upon you tomorrow. So you are building for the future such that when it is time to use that skill, you have built people on ground who are able to immediately transition, to use that skill. That's a long-term investment. And when you balance that with your quick wins, it helps you to have a very, very tight L&D strategy. And hybrid approaches have been found to improve our stakeholder buy-in by 30% by research. Okay, so creating an agile roadmap for the, just a minute, please. I have to move this off my screen. Okay. Creating an agile roadmap for the year. So we've started with Q1 and we're not stopping there because we have to train. We have to get our staff ready. We have to support our staff in the course of the year. So for the entire 12 months, we must be seen to be busy supporting the organization. So you have your iterative planning cycles, Plan in short increments to refine scope, adapt, and maintain momentum throughout the year. So at every point in time, you're reviewing. This is how we said we're going to deliver this. Is it delivering value, or do we have to go back to the drawing board? Do we have to go and look at what we've done and improve on it? Are we getting feedback from the business to say, oh, that was the right way to do it? Or we think you can add this and that to it. You can't do it alone. You are the subject matter expert in L&D, but you are not the subject matter. You don't know all the roles. You don't even know at all. So you must work with the business, partner with the business at every point in time. Frequent feedback loops. Are you engaging your learners and leaders regularly to validate direction and improve solution quality? Are you getting feedback from the business? So we've delivered this training now, and we think as L&D people that we've done the best. Oh, we're great. We've done something really nice. We've hyped ourselves. How does the business feel about what you delivered? That is where your success lies, So what are they saying about what you delivered? Did they say it was useful to them? Are you able to derive return on investment on it? If you are not able to do that, then you haven't done anything. And so your frequent feedback loops are very, very important. Flexible reprioritization. Respond to emerging business conditions by shifting focus without derailing delivery. You must be able to shift your focus immediately. That's what the world that we are in now. Changes are happening every day. So you cannot afford to say, this is how we did it last year. No, it's no longer tenable. Once you're seeing changes, you're moving along with your changes. You're changing your delivery method. If you were doing it virtually and you notice that, oh, your staff are not, it's not making a lot of sense to them, please, by all means, bring them to class. If you must bring them to class. And if they're in class and it's not working, it's affecting the job, make sure that you have a virtual program that is very, very foolproof, that is engaging so much that nobody even wants to leave class, even though it's virtual. Be flexible, reprioritize, change your curriculum. If it's not meeting the needs of today, change it immediately. Change it to something that is going to meet, the needs of today. Checkpoint and impact. Embed checkpoints for course correction, just like I said, and ensure relevance throughout the year. Agile L&D sees 25% higher engagement and better allocation. When you are agile, you need to move at the speed of light, or even better than that, So you're getting feedback, You're also searching the industry. What's happening within the industry? What are they doing within your competition? Yeah, it's part of your job. What's so-and-so doing? What's so-and-so doing? Because they're also watching you to see what you're doing. They want to copy what you're doing. And so you are also allowed sometimes to see what they're doing and tweak it to meet the needs of your organization. There's no crime. No policeman is going to, come and catch you, for that. So we must be on our toes at every point in time to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our organization. Remember that you're very critical. I'll keep mentioning that until I finish my presentation. So aligning HR strategy with our business needs, with our growing business needs. So partnering with stakeholders for strategic alignment. I think this is one of the most important components of our L&D journey. Collaborative partnership, close collaboration with business leaders, with management, with the MD, with the executives, with HR. And when you talk about HR, there's that loop between career management, talent development, and all of that. So we're working together for the common goal. And frontline managers, it target real workforce challenges. I mentioned an example with our Mandarin recently. That was a real workforce challenge. There are other workforce challenges, manning, and all of that, where L&D is expected to be at the forefront winning that battle. So you have looked at the certain business and you have said, oh, everybody, these people need skills. They need training around here. They're so young. They don't have experience. So how can you help us? How can you build them? And you bring everybody, to class. Not only that, there are other measures. So it's not L&D alone. Sometimes you appoint bodies for individuals to bring them up in terms of skills and competencies, and all of that. Sometimes it's mentorship. The person only needs to be mentored, to be able to bridge some skill gaps. So how are you partnering, with other functions to ensure that we're utilizing this potpourri of initiatives to ensure that our staff are well skilled? Co-create learning strategies. Joint design builds trust and shared accountability across stakeholder groups. I'm not a salesman, so I may have an idea of based on experience, maybe have an idea of the curriculum or the kind of knowledge that the sales team needs. But in Yoruba parlance, they say that you don't shave the head of a man behind him. And that's true. I can't shave Tola's head when Tola is not there. Tola must be present before I'm able to shave her head. And so I can't just sit down in my office with my team and decide that, the sales team, yes, we think that this is what they need, and then roll out a training. I have just wasted money because I didn't engage with them. I didn't partner with them, but they feel, useful when you call them to say, this is what we have observed, or what have you observed as a business leader? Where are those areas? And remember, this is something I've been talking about since we started, and it's probably something that I'm just reiterating it, so we co-create so that at the end of the day, we're sharing the wins together. It's not about what L&D did, it's what L&D did with. In fact, sometimes they will even get to the front before you. They've gone for a management meeting to go and give a report, and they say, last month, we were able to partner with L&D to deliver this training, and this is what the impact has been. They are even the ones tooting your horn for you when you are not there. They're speaking on your behalf, and everybody knows that, our L&D is useful. They're not just sitting and taking the back seat and just watching or just creating things that don't, that are not impactful within the organization. It's not for you to do. You are supposed to co-create, with the business so that you can come up with the best solution to work with. And then measurable impact. Strong partnership in L&D drives 35% higher program adoption and satisfaction. So whilst you are co-creating, you're asking relevant questions. How do we measure shifts in behavior? How do we measure shifts in performance, And you note it. At the end of the day, 6 months, 3 months, 6 months down the line, you're back to the business. We delivered that training to you. Remember our conversation. So what has changed? Have you seen relevance? Have you seen impact, in what we did? That helps you to build on what you have started to deliver another more impactful program, for the business. So your measurable impact is very, very critical as well. You must know how to measure impact. Otherwise, you just be working and you may not know where you're delivering. And remember that at the end of the day, you are going back to justify to management. For every penny that they have given to you, you must go back to go and account for it. So when you remember that you're accounting for all the money that they are giving to you, then you will sit down and ensure that you're able to measure impact, you're able to co-create learning strategies, you're just gathering everybody around to ensure that the right things are done, and ensuring that it's of quality and it is very much impactful. So how do we build future-ready L&D capabilities? Critical skills and mindsets for L&D. We're talking about digital literacy. That's a repetition. I've talked about that, as well. We're talking about data analytics. As an L&D professional, how do you analyze data to make informed decisions before you craft your trainings? So in this instance, in my mind, I'm thinking of, performance appraisal, the results, and the comments that have been written, and the training recommendations, within that. That's some ready data for you to use, in addition to other kind of data that are made available to you by the business as well. So how are you able to utilize your data to make meaningful decisions in terms of learning and development? Design thinking. How do you empathize with your learners? How do you prototype quickly and iterate based on feedback? That's design thinking. How do you design your programs to meet the needs of your learners? How? How do you do all of that? Those are critical skills that we must have as learning and development leaders in the organization. Change management. So we come in with a lot of babavoom. Oh, we've changed our learning management system. Oh, we now have something on the go, and all of that. And everybody's now confused. Oh, how do we use it? How do we get there? Change management. Do you have change management skills? How do you guide adoption with clear communication, clarity, enablement, and reinforcement? With the growth mindset, continuous learning and innovation help to drive 40% higher agility and adaptability. Growth mindset, guiding adoption with clear communication, change management, and all of that. How do you ensure that all of that, is done within your organization? Those are some of the skills that we need, as L&D leaders within an organizations. And so I'm challenging us. Do we have the skills? Are you a digital literate? Have you adopted AI fully? Have you embraced AI? AI is not coming to take our jobs. AI is going to enhance our jobs. It will support us. How have you been able to embrace the use of AI? I have, and quite a number of my team members too, have been able to adopt AI. So what you see is that AI helps you for something that you may have done within days. 30 minutes, it brings out a prototype for you and helps you to deliver your job. AI can help you curate a curriculum, and then you have a prototype that you can take to the business to say, okay, look, I've done this background job. This is what I think. However, I need your input into this. And then everybody gets around the table and you're able to look at what you've done and they say, okay, take this out, add this to it, enhance this, or bring this up, and all of that. And you're able to come up with a foolproof curriculum that guides your training, for a certain time. So these are some of the critical skills that we need for L&D. All your team members must have this kind of skills. And it's not, of course, it's not limited to this at all. So, more. Do your research and get the skills that you need to be able to deliver on your mandate. Now, leveraging technology, data, and learning science, AI personalized pathways, and this is the way that learning and development is going these days now. Everybody is talking about personalized pathways. So you're personalizing learning to each individual. What does each individual need? I may not learn the same way and the same speed that Demola or Shalom would learn. They probably learn faster and all of that. So how do I meet their own needs? How do I meet the needs of a slower learner? How do I personalize, pathways for learning? Analytics for measurement. You must have your dashboard that monitor engagement, skills improvement, and real-world application. Immersive skill practice, and that's, a journey that quite a number of people are going. We're not there yet, ourselves. VR simulations that offer realistic, safe environments for practicing complex tasks, that helps you, so you are simulating, you're in an environment of reality, and you're able to simulate to say, if this happens, what do we do? How do we attack the situation? How do we do this? They're all part of learning strategies as well. Are we there yet? Those are areas that, organizations are looking into, to deliver their learning and development strategies. Impact. Organizations see 50% quicker skill development and improved learner, satisfaction, when there is impact. When there's impact, you see all of that. And even on your end, you are, how would I say it now? You're encouraged to keep doing what you're doing when you see the impact on the organization. When you've run a training and the learners themselves tell you, thank you. this is what you've done for us, and we promise you we're going to come back with results. And they keep singing the praise of the training that they've done, and it gets to management, it gets everywhere, and all of that. So that's impact. You're able to measure the impact, and you see your development on time and all of that. However, when we talk about leveraging data science, leveraging AI, there's an aspect that we must also look at critically, and that is the challenges and ethical considerations of adopting AI. I know this may not be our beat directly, because we have IT teams that must ensure that the organization is going in the right way. And so you have your data privacy and ethics, ensure that you secure, that you have a secure, ethical and bias-free collection and use of data. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to be student data. Digital divide, ensuring that there's equitable access to technology for your students, which are your delegates, in remote or resource-limited areas. And this is essential for sustainable and inclusive education. Provide your learners, your teachers, and when I say teachers, I'm talking about your external faculty and your internal faculty, with the necessary skills to effectively integrate new technologies into their curricula, and this is a major, thing for them to use. So I would say for the people who train for you, especially our internal faculty, on an annual basis, do you organize a refresher for them, just to let them know how the learning landscape is going to be for the year, how it's going to be in the future? Do you do that, for your trainers, for your teachers, let's say, do you do that? Those are things that we should do, leveraging on technology, data, and learning science. Now, we must also foster a culture of continuous professional development, as L&D leaders. So here we talk about our culture pillars, which should be our core values. You must be curious. You must be open to feedback, and you must be committed to growth. And these pillars would help you to shape a learning-focused environment. Now, you also, we'll talk about supporting practices as well, which is equally important. Accessible training, mentorship programs. Remember, I talked about mentorship earlier. For a lot of organizations, mentorship is not within the L&D purview, but it could also be. So maybe around your training, you've recognized that some delegates may require mentorship, and you're collaborating with the right team to ensure that they get what they need to get. It's in a continuum. We're all working together for the common benefits of the organization. Recognition of learning achievements to encourage ongoing development. Leadership roles. Our leaders have a role to play. In fact, a huge role to play. Leaders champion learning by modeling growth, allocating resources, and embedding development into daily workflows. And I hope that we have supportive leadership in each of in all of our organizations, who can see that learning and development is an anchor for organizational growth. And in terms of outcomes, companies with strong continuous development cultures see 23% higher employee engagement and 30% greater innovation performance. In fact, it's been said that organizations with a good learning culture, is able to retain more of their staff. They are able to retain. So that's part of the value proposition, retainership, because that when you join this organization, they're going to train you, they will develop you, they just won't leave you hanging. They won't leave you to swim and survive. They would support you in achieving your goals, your career goals in the organization. And so we must be seen to be fostering a culture of continuous professional development. This is an area that I find really interesting, and I think it's very, very important, because it's also an area that shows that we are actually working as L&D practitioners, and that's reporting impact. And we'll move gradually into return on investment from here. So what are practical tools for tracking and reporting impact? You have to have a learning management analytics, where you're tracking engagement and outcomes with clear dashboards and boosting your reporting accuracy timelines by 40%. because so I don't know about other organizations, but I think this is the right thing to do. Management has committed budget into your hands, and they have asked that you go and train for impact. And you also want to demonstrate that you're not just training for training's sake. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you recall, now for those who are just joining us, at the beginning, I made it known that the learning and development function is very critical to the success of every organization. And so you must know that and know how to do the right thing so that you can demonstrate impact at the end of the day. So what analytics do you use to measure impact? Do you have a clear dashboard? And if you also have been journeying with me in the past few minutes, you would recall that I had said we are collaborating with the business teams to co-create our training programs. And in having that conversation, you're saying, what changes do you want to see? How do you want to measure impact? How do you want to demonstrate that learning has taken place and this will push performance? So how do you, measure all of these things? You must have your business intelligence dashboard as L&D, where you're looking at the trainings that you've done, looking at the impact of the trainings that you've done. You're integrating training data with organizational metrics for unified, timely decision making. So we have trained a crop of people in this area, and somebody left the bank. We shouldn't be left hanging. Succession planning. L&D should support succession planning. You're measuring as well, you're measuring on your dashboard. So this person was brought to class when we had this training last year. Also, we've added an additional layer this year, and we have seen marked improvement. You're looking at their scorecard at the end of the day, has he moved from where he was? And it's easier to do with sales teams because, they deal with Naira and Kobo, and all of that. So it's easier, to deal with them. So what was the revenue that they made last year at the end of the year? Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? Do they still need support? And so you're looking at it, oh, it wasn't so good, which is not good for us anyway, because if you train them, you should be looking at, improved revenue for the year at the end of the year so that you can take back to management to say, oh, we trained the sales team, look at their metrics, see what they've done, in the course of last year. And so because of that, we're now coming back to you to say, can we have some more? They need some more training. What we did last year was very, very impactful. And we're asking you to trust us that we will do more this year and it will be better results, So what is your dashboard that you use to measure training? I'd like to talk about the Kirkpatrick model, which is a 4-level framework for evaluating training effectiveness. And it assesses participant reactions, learning outcomes, workplace behavior, and organizational results to determine the overall impact of training programs. And so when you talk about reaction is the very basic level, the first level. It's the participant satisfaction and perceived relevance. So they come for training. Like I said earlier, they had good food. They went for tea break. They saw friends that they haven't seen in years, they gisted. And you know that sometimes when you come for training, physical training especially, it's like a way of meeting with some of your friends, maybe some of your friends in Kaduna, Enugu, some of the people that you were in graduate training class together that you haven't seen in years. And everybody, they all come to Lagos for training. And so your initial reaction is that, oh, this was a good training. We haven't started talking about what you've learned. By first of all, seeing your friends and hugging them, you're happy to be in training class. So initial reaction would be, I'm very happy to be here. I traveled, my organization lodged me in a hotel. I'm happy. We've gone for tea break, we've gisted, we've had lunch, the food was good, and all of that. So it doesn't really tell whether anything has happened. Then we'll move on. And then we'll talk about learning, which is the knowledge or the skills or attitude, change of attitude that has been gained. Did you gain anything? Did you gain any new knowledge? And that's when we'll talk about the pre and post assessment. So once you come to class, first of all, we want to test what you know about while you're in class. So you do your test and all of that. You score 40% because you really don't know. And then the post-assessment, we are expecting, if learning has been impactful, then post-assessment must be a major shift from your 40% probably to an 80% or even more, just to show that you listened in class and you have learned. Now, behavior. This is the application of learning on the job. So this talks to when you have gone back to your jobs. Your supervisor is observing you. You used to be a jerk. You came for a leadership program. They notice that something has changed and somebody is asking, what happened to Tolu? On a good day, if I told her that I made an error, she will have flipped. But Tolu is, she has calmed down and she's even walking me through the error. And then somebody says, maybe it's that training that they went for. So it's affected behavior. Those ones are not quantifiable. You may not be able to quantify it. It's behavior that you're watching and you're seeing that it's affected behavior. And then the result is impact on organizational performance. And we talked about bottom line, profit making, and all of that. Has your training impacted organizational performance? So you don't train and just leave to chance. All of these things are your responsibility. You must ensure that at every point in time, you're tracking all of this so that you can go back to management to say, these are our achievements and we want to do more and we can do more and we can take our organization to the promised land. So you must have practical tools for tracking and reporting the impact of your training. And at the end of every year or beginning of every year, as the case may be, you must have a report ready for management to show what you've done and the impact of what you have done on the organization. There are some trainings that my return on investment is just, I now have homegrown individuals who can take up leadership roles. We have some leadership, programs like that, where in the past, we used to go and buy talent. Now we no longer buy talent. We build talent and we use the talent that we build for the benefit of the organization. It's cheaper for us. They understand our culture. They know how we do things within the First Bank, and they're able to easily adapt into this, probably more senior roles, leadership roles. And we're not looking around. We're not far-fetching them. They've been trained. They're just ready to assume all of these roles. So what do you do to measure the impact of your expenditure on training? That is very, very important as an L&D practitioner. Okay, this is also very important. Still talking about measuring impact and return on investment. So our training ROI measures whether performance improvements outweigh program costs. So you spend so much, and that is what management thinks. They think in Naira and Kobo. If you're not able to signify what you've done in Naira and Kobo, then you haven't really done anything. So what are the key indicators of ROI? It could be in terms of revenue growth. It could be in terms of reduced turnover. It could be faster time to competency, which means you're now agile, you're able to respond to issues, quickly. It could be reduced error rates. So to measure ROI, some school of thought has said that you should total all direct and indirect costs, quantify performance gains, isolate the effect of training using pre and post data or control groups, and convert improvement into monetary value, which is where we're actually going, monetary value. And some of this data may be collected through supervisor assessments, impact studies and surveys, or quizzes. Now, another school of thought says, for instance, a $10,000 training program that generates a $20,000 in additional sales has delivered a 100% ROI. But I will give you a more practicable solution, which we have tested and tried in our organization. So, like I said, I will still go back to all these key indicators. Revenue growth, and I mentioned earlier, it's the easiest for sales for the business, So you can tell they made 10% in this area. Now they're making 30%. We brought them to class. we're claiming glory for that, because if we hadn't trained them, I believe that the training that we did for them was part of what impacted their revenue growth. And how do you know this? By the time they finished the training, you took, they did a pre-test, they did a post-test, and also they gave you their comments. And also remember that we are also working with their supervisors, as the case may be, to take feedback on improvement. And over time, you've gone back to the supervisor to say, oh, we brought so-and-so person, or we brought this group of people to class. Can you let us know how they have improved on their job? Are they doing better? Are they doing well? And the supervisor says, oh, yes, they're doing well. No, they're not doing well. Then that means that you haven't done so well in terms of training, or you need to add an additional layer to support the person. Now, when people don't do well, let me not be unfair to us. It may not be our fault, because we've done all that we need to do. There's also that bit of individualism, in measuring ROI on an individual. So the person may just not be interested, and those people get themselves into trouble at the end of the day. When you are a consistent low performer, we know what happens to such people at the end of the day, especially after everything has been put in place. They've been trained, they've been counseled, they've been monitored, they've been, and all of that. They just chart their own path by themselves. But as L&D, we must ensure that we have done all that we need to do, and we are able to measure return on investment. That is our own scorecard as L&D, return on investment. So look at all those critical areas and generate a report to your management to say, these are the trainings that we did, the very critical, the very important trainings, and this is the result that we got, from the training. This helps. In fact, when they are talking at board, your executives will defend you and say, L&D is doing what they need to do. Let us support them. So it gives you comfort that you will get the support that you require at most points in time. We know this myth that when organizations want to cut down on cost, they come for HR and HR-related costs, and that includes training as well, to say, oh, we're scaling down on training. But organizations that are future forward-looking understand that training is very, very critical to building, any organization. And I want to believe that management will be able to support when you have been able to demonstrate that you have done the right thing, and you have your return on investment. You will have support of your management. So this is very, very critical. Look for a way that works for you. You don't have to start measuring 100% over 20,000 naira over 10,000 naira and all of that. Look at those critical metrics in each of the functions that you're training that will demonstrate that there has been a shift in behavior, in performance, and all of that. Build on it and create your report, and let management see what you have done in the course of the year. And that is your return on investment. I hope I'm not going too fast. So avoiding pitfalls in sustainable L&D execution, we'll talk a lot about that as well, because it's very, very important. And these are some of the common mistakes in L&D strategy design and rollout. I've talked so much about stakeholder engagement. If you don't engage your stakeholders, they can mess you up. They can go somewhere and say, we didn't ask for that training. They will go to strategy meeting and say, I'll put you on the spot. And they'll say, we didn't ask for that training. It didn't help us. But if you carry them along, let them know what the training would do for them, then they would collaborate with you, and they will speak up for you even in situations where you are not there. So don't make the mistake of not engaging your stakeholders. You must always engage them. Poor alignment with business goals. Error. Never do that. For every training that you are going to do, make sure that it is aligning with something on the strategy of the organization. Tie it to a strategy. That's when you will get help. So you just don't sit down at your desk and say, oh, we want to do a leadership conference. Did anybody ask you for leadership conference? Why are you doing leadership conference? How does it align with your business goal? You must be able to tie it to your business goal. Oh, as part of our strategy for 2026, we want to build leadership. We want to build sustainable leadership. We want to do We want to build succession planning and all of that. And we want to be able to put a crop of eligible delegates together, and have a leadership conference and design something, that can help our leaders behave better, act better, move their teams better, and all of that. Make sure that it is aligned with your business goals. If it's not aligned, that's dead on arrival. Nobody's going to support you for that. Now, if you ignore your learner feedback, you're finished. Because they are the ones that are supposed to help you to toot your horn or help to kill you. So if they've come for a training and they tell you, we didn't like the vendor, then by all means, do your investigation. Maybe it's time to delete that vendor because he didn't deliver your mandate well, and get another vendor to come and work for you. Or if they say, oh, you are training us on what we already know, that's the problem. You're supposed to train them on what they don't know. So don't ignore your learner feedback. And for every training that you do, you must get feedback. There must be a feedback, on everything. How was the food? Because for some people, I keep mentioning food. It's not because I like food. It's just because of what I've seen in this life. Some people just came for training and to training to eat. And if the food is not good, it colors their opinion. So you must ensure that there's learning ambience, especially for physical trainings. Your learning ambience is good. The food will not run their stomach, and the food will be good, and all of that. So all of those feedback actually tie into your learner feedback, which you must never ignore as an L&D practitioner. So please ensure that you don't ignore your learner feedback. Take their feedback and use it to improve. Don't even be defensive. I've had to go to class sometimes to say, hey, guys, I hear that you complained about this and that. We're already working on it. We know. And I can assure you that next time you come back, it's not going to be like that. It doesn't matter whether they're junior to me or whatever. I am the face of management at that point in time, when they come to class. And so I must ensure that everywhere is conducive. Learning is conducive. I've brought in the best, trainer to come and train you so that when you're giving me feedback, you might have a few buts, but at the end of the day, I know that my goal, has been achieved. Now, insufficient measurement frameworks. Without a robust metric, it's difficult to track progress and demonstrate ROI or adjust your strategies for improvement. So this is also very, very important. You must have sufficient measurement frameworks in place to measure what you are doing as L&D. So that is also as important as any other thing. Another important aspect of our job is overcoming resistance and maintaining stakeholder buy-in. And how do you do this? Make sure that your communication is transparent. Share rationale. So we've had situations where we had discussed with them, maybe group heads and all of that, and they've given us their training imperatives, and all of that. And we're now engaging the next line up, which probably is the executive management or executives for that particular function. And you want to defend why you want to hold that training. You've sent an email or you want to do a meeting, virtual meeting, physical meeting, whatever it is, because they also have a stake in that as well. So you share your rationale, and decisions openly to reduce uncertainty and build trust. By the time you're sharing your rationale, you're also taking feedback from them to say, okay, you know what, take out that layer, add this layer to it. Let's do it this way. I don't want all my people coming to Lagos. Can you do a regional training for them? Can you get your people to go down to Kano? I don't want to bring people from Kano to Lagos. It's too cost effective. Hey, they're defending their budget too, because they also have a budget to defend. So how are you helping them to manage their budget as well? So share your rationale, have transparent communication with your business leaders. Involve stakeholders in design. And this has been coming up so many times. So you know that it's really important. I'm sure we do that already. Like I said, I'm just, just bringing it out again to say, look, let's continue to do it. And if perchance there are people who don't do that, then know that it's an important thing to do. Involve your stakeholders in the design of your program. Co-create requirements and pilots to foster ownership and early alignment. They are your stakeholders. If they don't align with you, then you don't have a job. So please carry them along. Showcase quick wins, deliver visible early value, and it can lift your buying by up to 40% to sustain momentum. So once you've done this, you've seen some visible results, start tooting your horn. And you can do it in form of a flyer. Send it out to them. Let them see what has happened after your training. We trained some people in innovation, and 5 of them were part of the innovation, were selected for the innovation challenge in the bank, So yeah, it's your glory. You trained them and they were selected. So it's your glory. Let everybody know so that they know what you're doing. Because if you don't say it, nobody would know. They just assume that, oh, those guys were good enough. I trained them. They came to class and look at what they've done. So by showcasing them, get their beautiful pictures, put it on a flyer, send it around, let everybody see what you've done, and all of that. So showcase your quick wins. Don't be silent. Don't keep quiet. If you don't toot your horn, nobody's going to toot it for you. And I realized that a lot of HR people, L&D people were kind of quiet, were reserved, especially in showcasing our quick wins. It's high time you started speaking up. Showcase your quick wins. Let everybody know. If you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. So the business will come and say, we made 50% on our revenue. Meanwhile, human capital management hired a new staff who was part of the delivery of this 50%. And you are there when the business is, dancing around and saying, oh, we've done this. Don't you know that you contributed to that 50% by hiring the right staff for that role? You did. Don't you know that you contributed to the business by training them on sustainable business? You did. So when everybody is bragging, you also have a bragging right. You should also raise your hand and say, oh, this person was part of our training. We brought this person to class for so-and-so training. And I'm happy that it's been very, very impactful. I'm happy to see results, that this person is also delivering, and all of that. It's your bragging right as well. So let's not be quiet. It's high time to be in the limelight. It's high time that we got ourselves into the limelight now and showcase what we are doing, because in essence, we are doing a whole lot. Never forget that we're doing a whole lot. And then continuous engagement, maintain regular touch points, feedback loops, and recognition to keep your support active. Remember, we're on a learning journey, not a learning event. It's a journey. So you keep touching base with all the people you're supposed to be touching base with, just to provide the support that you're meant to support. Now, ensuring adaptability and avoiding stagnation, continuous feedback loops, embed ongoing input mechanisms to surface signals early and guide course corrections. That feedback loop is very, very important. And when you need to move and diversify or change, it must be agile. Encourage innovation, prioritize experimentation and learning cycles to prevent strategic drift and stagnation. So you must encourage your team to be innovative. What else can we do? How else can we improve our knowledge management sessions? How else? Who do we bring on a web to our next webinar? So we hear that operations team and sales team, they're always at loggerheads. Sales team says operations team that they're not supporting them in delivering their mandate. They're frustrating their customers. What do we need to do? Can we bring them up on a webinar? Let them face themselves and talk about it. So if there's something that sales team is doing that is not right, operations team can tell them. And if there's anything that operations team is doing that is not right, then the sales team can also let them know. And we're winning that battle right on that webinar. And everybody's making commitments. Okay, going forward, this is what we're going to do. We'll ensure that when you send to us, we do this, we do that, we do that. That's a quick win for you. And that's an innovation. If you haven't been doing it, that's something that you can do. Bring teams. So it's not all about training. The teacher is coming to come and train you. We can train ourselves. We can have dialogues. We can have conversations. We can co-create programs, and all of that. Knowledge sharing sessions within the teams and all of that. So encourage innovation within your teams. Regular strategy reviews as L&D. Schedule your checkpoints to refresh priorities and align with shifting context. And we keep talking about shifting context, changes, and all of that. So changes will happen in the course of the year. The business team can just, take a detour and decide to look at something else. Immediately, how do you support them? So you've heard they've changed into something else. Meanwhile, you had planned for something else. In fact, you had even trained them on what you had planned for, but they have now moved into a new terrain. What do you do? Quickly, also change your gear to be able to support them. Agile L&D impact. Agile strategies report a 25% faster ability to pivot to changes. When you're agile, 25% win, to you. So let's ensure that we are adaptable and we are not stagnant in the business. Okay, and so we're getting to the end of this. So driving transformative L&D for a future-ready workforce. What are the essential traits? You're building agility, you have digital fluency, and there's continuous learning mindset. Strategic priorities for 2026, personalized pathways when you can afford it, AI-enabled delivery, and scalable capability academies. It's no longer one size fits all. If you have to do a finance academy, by all means. Sales academy, by all means. Credit risk academy, by all means. IT academy, by all means. Just make sure that you compartmentalize training to be able to support the diverse teams that you have within your workforce, to support them to perform. For the bottom line, remember, your salary has to be paid. Everybody's salary has to be paid. Business alignment, tie skills to strategic outcomes, roles, and workforce planning. And then again, you must be able to measure the impact and use your skills, metrics, and business KPIs to prove value and always iterate. So I hope that I've been able to convince and not confuse you that your function is very important and how to tackle this function in the year 2026. So thank you very much.